one of the most significant Christian television networks in the world, was co-founded by her. For 7 years, the man she thought was her soulmate deceived her. She began what she believed to be a new chapter after falling in love again after burying him. In the final months of her life, the legacy she had spent 40 years defending, the ministry she had battled for, and the family she had built all broke apart. Joni Lamb, at 65 years old, passed away unexpectedly on May 7, 2026. And no one is sharing the complete story of how she arrived thus far. This video will walk you through each step. The affair that nearly brought her marriage to an end. The mysterious marriage that destroyed her family. The Christian radio industry was stunned by the charges. And the terrible final moments, when Joni Lamb died without her own son by her side. Stay with me, because this story's plot does not proceed according to plan. Let's start at the beginning. Because understanding how the Lamb family broke up requires understanding how they were put together. Joni and Marcus Lamb founded Daystar television network in 1993. If you watched Christian television as a child, you are familiar with this network. It became a global power, reaching hundreds of millions of homes worldwide and broadcasting in dozens of languages. It was well known for its 24-hour Christian programming, praise music, and talk shows. Marcus and Joni were the face of it all. The Christian community looked up to them as a couple. The pair of gold. The perfect team. As they sat down at the table and prayed together on television, they told the world that God was the foundation of everything they had made. And millions of viewers saw exactly that. But behind closed doors, something quite different was happening. In 2010, Marcus Lamb's confession on national television stunned the Christian community. He admitted to having an extramarital affair. But most people didn't know this at the time, and only in the years afterward has it been evident that this wasn't a transient indiscretion. Marcus Lamb has been having an affair with Janice Smith for 7 years. For a period of 7 years. When he was spreading the gospel to people worldwide. Joni sat with him every day. Together, they founded a ministry worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Jeanette Hawkins, a former Daystar executive, finally revealed what she knew after years of silence. She described a culture at Daystar where the affair was well known and protected. Lewd emails were found. Internal staff members were put in impossible circumstances. Jeanette paid the price for her refusal to remain silent. She was one of 3 women who filed a lawsuit against Daystar and Marcus Lamb, claiming that their emotional health had been severely harmed by the affair and the atmosphere it created. Now think about what Joni was actually experiencing at the time. She later described the day she collected all the emails and supporting documentation, waited, and confronted Marcus. She asserted that God would supply the words and had told her to wear the exact same attire. After returning after a round of golf, Marcus came inside the home wearing his golf hat, chuckled, and shouted her name. She just gave him a quick glance before whispering, "Sweetheart, I know you're having an affair with Janice." He was devastated. In precisely that way. Pretending is over. He wept. He said he would do whatever it took. "I feel like I'm stuck on a merry-go-round," he said. At that exact moment, Joni claimed to have felt a preternatural calm. Not shouting. Not rage. Peace. Only God, she said, could have given her such peace. And she was able to get through everything that came after because of her calm and faith. They remained together. They received counseling. For their union, they fought. They also told a story of redemption and restoration in public, which moved a lot of people in the audience. They did better on the opposite side, according to Joni, years later. That God healed them. She said that the healing was demonstrated by the fact that she could tell the story without feeling any anguish. In private, she also revealed something more. Early on in the healing process, she had made it very clear to Marcus that she would never want to go through something similar again. She would never do it, Marcus promised. Joni claimed that it wasn't simply because he made a promise that he never cheated again. Years later, rather than at her request, he voluntarily took a lie detector test. Just to show her. Just to demonstrate it. In November of 2021, Marcus Lamb passed away. He was 64. He had been an outspoken critic of COVID vaccines during the epidemic and promoted alternative treatments on Daystar's platform. He died after contracting COVID-19. In an instant, the guy who had broken her heart and then mended it disappeared. In the weeks after Marcus's passing, this narrative takes an unexpected turn. Dr. Doug Weiss filed for divorce from his wife Lisa on January 27, 2022, less than 2 months after Marcus Lamb was buried. They have been married for over 30 years. Doug Weiss was known to the Lamb family. He was a well-known Christian sex therapist and relationship counselor. He had been a guest at Daystar. Marcus had held him in high regard. His ministry focused on helping couples find healing, particularly those who were dealing with betrayal and sexual addiction. He ran the Heart to Heart Therapy Center, a therapy facility in Colorado Springs. On paper, he appeared to be the kind of person who should have known better. But it was astonishing when he filed for divorce. 2 months after Marcus Lamb's death, Weiss filed. By May 2022, the divorce was authorized. In June 2023, Doug Weiss and Joni Lamb also got married. Later on, a recording of a 19-hour phone call between Joni and Doug in the immediate aftermath of Marcus's passing would surface, exposing something really disturbing. 19 hours. But she was destined to be a grieving widow. Lisa, his wife, reportedly continued to battle for their union. Jonathan Lamb, Joni's oldest kid with Marcus, was someone Doug Weiss had known for a long time. In addition, Jonathan did not keep quiet about his mother's relationship with Weiss. He expressed his vehement disapproval of the union. He expressed clear theological objections, asserting that Weiss's divorce from his first wife had no biblical basis. That Lisa didn't deserve this. That the divorce was arranged to find a wealthy and well-known widow. Everyone acknowledged, including Joni, that Doug had always spoken well of Lisa, as Jonathan and his wife Susie noted. He never made fun of her. Never asserted that anything was wrong. According to what Joni herself had informed Susie, Lisa had been pushing for the marriage. However, Doug was now saying that he had been mistreated and disregarded for 30 years after the divorce. How are these two things possible? They couldn't. But the family's strife didn't stop there. It evolved into something more darker. Jonathan and Susie Lamb came forward to tell that their 5-year-old daughter had been sexually abused, and that when Susie called Joni immediately, Joni had told her not to disclose the abuse to the police. Instead, Joni wanted to meet with the child in private. After that meeting, according to Jonathan and Susie, their daughter stopped talking about what had happened. She was compared by Susie to like a lockbox. She was unable to even remember the conversation. Jonathan and Susie went public. Their charges were given names. They asserted that Daystar had failed to report the abuse to the authorities as required by Texas law and had instead covered it up. Police in Colleyville, Texas, opened an investigation. The Christian broadcasting industry was shocked. Prominent people began to disassociate themselves with Daystar. Joyce Meyer, one of the most prominent personalities in Christian television, departed the network. Donors began to stop contributing. Joni denied all the accusations. She called it a campaign of defamation. She said Jonathan had invented a tale to seize control of the ministry. In November 2024, Jonathan Lamb was officially fired from Daystar, the network his father co-founded and where he had worked for years, following what Joni described as a 15-month performance evaluation. The police investigation was finally closed in May 2025 due to a lack of evidence. But the damage to the family and the ministry was irreparable. And there was more. At the same time, serious concerns were being raised about Joni and Doug's management of Daystar's finances. Reports state that Joni used the ministry's credit card to pay for a honeymoon at an upscale resort in Mexico, totaling about $100,000 over the course of 2 separate trips. She denied it. Investigative journalists, however, were able to obtain images of the charges with her and Doug's identities on the resort records. It was also stated that private travel, including visits to Doug Weiss before their formal marriage, was taking place on the ministry's private jet. A nonprofit affiliated with Weiss reportedly received a $400,000 donation from a foundation in 2022, but its IRS form for that same year showed total revenue of only $50,000. The money's location were questioned. No satisfactory answers were received. One of the most respected financial watchdog organizations in Christian giving, Ministry Watch, gave Daystar Television Network an overall failing rating. Financial efficiency is rated a 0. A meager 7 out of 100 donor confidence scores, or an F, is given to transparency. Contributions from donors are discouraged. This was no small ministry that was being choosy. Regular Christians funded this billion-dollar platform with the intention that it would help spread the gospel over the globe. And the cracks were increasingly difficult to ignore. Despite everything, Jonilamb continued to move forward. She interviewed people. She appeared on sympathetic platforms. For social media, she made videos. She even gave a speech about faith and the challenges we faced 2 hours before she died. It was later called haunting. Others hailed it as inspiring. Actually, it was both. One thing about Jonilamb is unchangeable. Whatever of your opinion of the decisions she took in her final years, she was not a fraud from the beginning. She produced something sincere. Even though her husband had cheated on her for 7 years as she sat next to him, she made the decision to forgive him, patch up her marriage, and continue with the ministry. The suffering she went through would have caused most people to break. Her faith in the gospel she taught was deep and genuine. And the unearthly serenity she described feeling throughout her worst moments? The way she could articulate excruciating pain without flinching? That was accurate. You could hear it. It was tangible. Whether she made decisions that she truly believed to be correct, whether she was tricked by people who saw her wealth and position as an opportunity, or whether her latter choices were corrupted, only God sees the full picture of her heart. What we do know, though, is that she was a flawed, multifaceted, and incredibly human woman who worked for 40 years to create something bigger than herself and died while seeing it disintegrate in real time. At the age of 65, Jonilamb passed away on May 7, 2026. A back injury that worsened pre-existing health conditions and resulted in a precipitous decline was cited in Daystar's official statement. Some reports claim that the underlying cause was bone cancer that she had concealed. Either way, the conclusion came quickly. Moreover, Jonathan Lamb was not in that hospital room. He says he was not promptly contacted. His wife Susie asserts that Joni's impending death was not properly communicated to the family. He could not say goodbye to his mother. The harsh and persistent inquiries that are already making the rounds on the internet are, were documents signed before she passed away? How is Daystar's leadership doing right now? How are the charges addressed? What happens to the tiny child at the center of it all? As of right now, those questions have no answers. The Lamb family used to be the most beloved family in Christian radio. They were on television every day. They were present in people's homes, lives, and prayers. What remains now is a son who failed to get in touch with his mother in time, a ministry that is under attack from all directions, a new spouse whose past leaves more questions than answers, and a legacy that is still being written, in real time and not in the manner that anybody could have predicted. If this story has a lesson, it's not a simple one. There is no obvious lesson. It's much more accurate than that. Even people who love God deeply can make catastrophic mistakes. Even the strongest ministry can be tainted by money, grief, loneliness, and the wrong people at the wrong moment. Even a woman who stood in the quiet heart of a hurricane and felt the peace of God might eventually get lost. A significant legacy was left by Jonilamb. We won't forget her easily. Nonetheless, it is crucial to present that past in its entirety, including its beauty and brokenness.